And it reminds me of this verse as I kind of like was preparing for today. It's a verse that there's a lot of wisdom actually about personal finance in scripture. People actually wouldn't think this. In Proverbs 22:7, it says, the rich rule over the poor and the borrower is slave to the lender. And that has a lot to do with how a lot of people feel being in debt, right? But then there's also this, Proverbs 21:5, the plans of the diligent end in profit, but those of the hasty end in loss. And
That's
I'm
good.
like, yeah, hard work, guys. Like there's no way around it. Like hard ethical work. And that's a temptation because like in our culture, in the world of OnlyFans and all this like garbage, modern day prostitution, like these easy ways out, and there's all sorts of unethical ways to earn money. There are still upright, noble ways to earn money and doing something that you believe in, doing something that adds value to people's lives. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your dream job either, right? That's thrown around a lot to students. If you find your dream job, praise God, thank Him for it. But there's nothing shameful or embarrassing about working hard at a job that's noble. I mean, look at Christ. For 30 years of his life, humdrum basic life, carpenter, construction worker. The Lord of the universe is a blue collar worker. Hello. And he sanctified the world by doing that. I mean, think about it.
It is mind blowing to think about.
It is. It's absolutely, I mean, IKEA furniture, Jesus furniture.
No, his was prettier.
It was probably,
For sure.
it lasted probably way longer as well.
Way longer. And it looked way nicer.
Way nicer. Divine quality.
But either way, he's probably he's working that wood.
He is working that wood.
That's
and
crazy.
There's something beautiful and noble about that. And anyways, we had to work hard, and thanks be to God, we were able to get out of debt. And we were able to afford buying a house, even in California at the time, which is like nuts here, right? And also to begin investing. A lot of people don't understand this, but obtaining the ability to manage your personal finance is not only necessary, it's wildly important. One of the number one causes of divorce in America are financial issues. So imagine as a young adult or as a single person, or even as a married person now, like you literally taking the step to say, I don't know this, but I want to learn this. And so instead of binging on Netflix, I'm going to literally scour the internet. I'm going to go and look at that rich guy's book, Dave Ramsey. I'm going to be like Paul and not buy it and just read it or whatever. It's like, I'm going to take my life and be wise about it. I'm going to be diligent. And honestly, by doing that, it can not only change the life of your marriage and your family, but to leave a legacy for your children. And so, Dave Ramsey, I'm grateful because once again, he gave me these baby steps. And so then we started to think, okay, we should probably invest as well. See, modern day man, when it comes to economics and personal finance, this is how most people operate. They have a job, and they spend their hard-earned money, which they traded all these hours for, right? 50 hours a week, 40 hours a week. They traded their hard-earned money and their time. And time is the most limited, scarce asset for all of us because it's not forever, right? If time was like infinite on this side of eternity, like we'd go to the gym 10,000 years from now. we wouldn't care. But because we all know we have finite time, time is very valuable. And so the fact of the matter is most adults, like they trade in the brunt of their life working, right? So imagine this. We go to work for 40 hours a week. We trade it to earn money, right? But here's the irony. We use that money oftentimes to buy stuff, one, that we can't afford. And instead of buying assets, we buy liabilities. Now, what is an asset and what is a liability? A liability is something that does not grow in value, okay? So, and not all this is bad, but your car is a liability. Going out to eat is a liability. Shopping for random stuff, usually a liability. What is an asset? An asset can look like a stock. It can look like real estate. It can look like Bitcoin. It can look like a precious metal. An asset. And an asset grows in value. So imagine this. If most people in our world today, and young adults especially, are earning all this money, but they're using it to buy liabilities, which go down in value, they can't ever get ahead. It's called inflation. Most people don't understand this. If the value of the money, the US currency, goes down because it's being printed more and more, then the value of scarce assets like real estate are going to go up. It's simple economy. And so the money is broken because the US government has been printing more money than ever before. There's some crazy like statistic out there. I don't know the exact one, so I'm going to probably just estimate right now, but they're saying like something to the tune of 80% of all dollars in circulation were printed in these past 5 years.
That's insane.
Yeah, so the value of $1 4 years ago, you basically lost a quarter of its value. So what you could buy for $1, you can only buy 75 cents worth today. Does that make sense? And it doesn't make sense. It's mind blowing, right? And so here's the thing. People, meanwhile, are trying to get ahead. They're trying to work really hard. They're trying to buy a house. They're trying to get situated. They're trying to pay off their debt. And meanwhile, the government is printing all this money and everyone is getting the rug pulled out from under them and they don't realize it. And so investing is not just a nice idea that some people should consider. It's actually a necessity if you want to get ahead. You mentioned Bitcoin earlier. It's funny because about 5 years ago, a friend of mine said, "Do you know about Bitcoin?" I said, "Isn't it that cryptocurrency? It's like really risky, right?" Like that's literally all I knew about it. And it was interesting because at that time I was considering maybe looking into real estate to invest in it. But then I learned about Bitcoin. And as I started learning about it, it was quite fascinating. I don't want to bore everyone with the details, but it was created about 15 years ago, and it's the most scarce asset in the world. How is that possible? Because the way it was created and engineered is that there's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist, ever, okay? And every single day, it's mined by these like computers all around the world. They're basically like called miners, and just like you would mine gold, they're trying to mine Bitcoin by solving these complex algorithms and things online. But the amount that these people can mine every 4 years drops in half. So there's a built-in like scarcity. Anyways, without getting too nerdy, what was once considered like this internet funny money, what politicians not too long ago were calling like terrorist number one form of currency, which is an absolute nonsense statement. The US dollar is actually the number one form of terrorist money in the world for transactions, shady things. But I digress. This internet money that was created has literally become the fastest growing asset in the world. It, by leaps and bounds, it has outpaced every asset in the world, from real estate to stocks to gold to precious metals, you name it. I looked up a statistic before I came here. Over the past 14 years, it's grown annualized about 150% a year. And second place is at like 16%. And that's like a group of stocks. So what is that? Right? But what's interesting is now the government wants to buy it. You know, Trump obviously recently came to office, and the big news is he wants to put the country on what's called a strategic reserve, a crypto strategic reserve. Anyways, all that to say, like, governments want to buy it now, Wall Street wants to buy it. And it's the first time in history where like everyday people have the chance to front run nations and governments and huge corporations. And the thing with investing is like, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling people they should put their life savings in this. But what I am saying is they should at least consider what investing is and why it's important. Because once again, if your hard-earned money that you are working so hard for every week, 40 hours a day, is melting away due to inflation, like think about it. 4 years ago, whatever you had saved melted by 25%. That's highway robbery, and it's due to inflation. And so if you're not trading your dollars for an asset that's going to grow in value more than the inflation rate, you're being robbed. And so what's really neat about an investment like Bitcoin is my wife and I, we're not like some savvy like day traders, or we're not like some genius, investors or anything like this. All we've done is we've traded our hard-earned dollars for something like Bitcoin. So every month we like by default, we'll put like 15% of whatever we earn into something like this. And rain or shine, we do this. And then guess what? It's grown a lot and we've been blessed for it. And it's just that mindset of like, I'm going to stop buying crap that I can't afford. I'm going to stop trading my hard-earned dollars for things that I just want to get because it's going to impress somebody, the fancy bag, the fancy car, the fancy this and that. And instead of trying to impress people who I don't even like and I don't even know, I'm going to take care of my family and myself. and I'm going to be a wise steward of the gifts that God has given me and even my finances, so that I'm not going to be foolish, but I am going to trade my hard earned money for an asset that's going to work for me even as I sleep at night. And that is incredibly powerful. Having the ingenuity to say, I'm not just going to sit on my butt and like watch every season of every show. Maybe I'm going to look into a side hustle. Maybe I'm going to think of ways where I can add value, start a service, get entrepreneurial. I mean, America truly is a great country for that.